Hi, my name is Claire and I really like to knit. Today is Christmas Eve and I thought I'll do a wrap up of all of my favorite things in 2025. So some of these will be knitwear, there'll be yarn, there'll be books, and there'll be a couple of other things as well. So if you're interested, please keep watching. So 2025 is coming to a close. Ravelry says I have finished 50 projects and I have 2 more on the needles, which I'm hoping to finish before the end of the year. I'm not sure. I think we'll definitely get to 51, but the last one we'll have to see. Now, I want to talk to you about some of my favorites and I will categorize them in test knits, my own design, general, and some of my not so favorite knits throughout this year. This year has been a big year for me in test knits. I have done 11 test knits for designers and they have varied greatly in experience and the product. Let me tell you about my favorite. It is the Liesl cardigan by My Fabled Knitwear. No, it's just Fabled Knitwear. And it is just this most beautiful European inspired vintage looking cardigan. It is so beautiful. And I also bought her own yarn from Fabled Knitwear and her buttons. It is just so unique and it was a really interesting knitting experience. Now the testing experience wasn't the most amazing because it was on Instagram, so you get flooded with messages and the pattern was written out in a way that was quite wordy, which is not my favorite. I like clean overview. So the pattern itself was a little bit difficult to decipher. I ended up charting it myself, but the favorite project, I love it. I've only worn it once and I'm hoping to have a few more opportunities to wear it. The least favorite one will be the Larkso top by Camilla. It is now featured in Lang magazine. The knit is fine, it's just very boxy. You basically knit a box with boxy sleeves and then you add a collar. And yeah, it is fine, but it's not my style. And it looks quite weird on me. So I think I will be frogging that one and reusing the yarn. Because the yarn I use is Seasoned Alpaca by Pearl Soho, which is a really beautiful soft yarn. Now this year I have also created many of my own designs. They're not patterns for sale, they're just things that I have been inspired by, like inspired by Pinterest or someone else's design, and I wanted to knit it myself. So this year there has been 16 of them, I'm quite proud of them. Some were little things like a beanie and some were bigger things like my bomber jacket. I have to say my favorite is the Darth Vader jumper I have recently finished. There may be a video coming out. My teenage son is editing it, but I don't know when that's going to be. But I created that one pretty much from scratch and did the maths, did the drawings, looked online a lot of photos and made a jumper for my son, which he absolutely loves. And I'm very, very proud of it. And the yarn I used was beautiful as well. Barely had to do any frogging, surprisingly, and knit it up really quickly. And we're going overseas for New Year's, so he's going to be able to wear it very soon. Another favorite is the Chunky Bomber. So this is a yarn that I frogged from a previous jumper. The shape from the previous jumper just wasn't working for me and the color is too pale and it was washing me out. So I went on Pinterest and found a shape that I liked and I created this bomber jacket with a zipper and a contrast collar and cuffs. And now I love it. I still haven't worn it yet because it's very, very hot here in Australia. I'm not going to bring it overseas with me either because the color just doesn't go with anything that I have. What I have found is I have too many hero pieces. None of them go with each other. So packing for an overseas trip has been really hard because I want to bring all of my beautiful knitwear, but none of them go with each other. Same with my accessories. They're all too bright. And anyway, so that one's staying home, but I'm hoping to wear it a lot more. But I'm very proud of it because it looks so cute and so cozy. Now, my least favorite, it's not like it's my least favorite, but it's a little lacy scarf that I created. I loved the yarn. It is Veloute by La Bien Aimée in this beautiful purple-ish color. It just looks like a mix of so many colors, and it was just amazing. So, and I only had one skein, so I knitted a little lace scarf, but it turned out too long and too narrow and too flimsy, and I had to wrap it around my neck like 4 times for it to not drag on the floor. So that wasn't practical. I ended up frogging that and made the netty scarf by Lily Kate France, and it looks really good as the netty scarf. Again, waiting to be worn. But yeah, I think it works a lot better in that design and still shows off the yarn really beautifully. I must have done some miscalculations because one end is longer than the other, but no one's gonna know when you're wearing it. Let's do some overall favorite knits, and there are so many of them. I knitted over 50 items this year, and I guess I do like most of them. I do. The proudest achievement was a cardigan by June Mikami. It was earlier in the year, made with this beautiful beige merino from woollyyarn.com. And it was such a complicated design. Japanese designers, they're so smart. And it's from a Japanese knitting book. There's only 4 pages, so it's not a written instruction. It is just pictures and diagrams and schematics. And that's what I like about Japanese designs, but it did take a while for me to figure it out, because you can see in the lace pattern and the cable, there's a lot of holes in it. So you have to break the yarn, create this bit of cable, reattach it to the main fabric, and do that many, many times, and crisscrossing those cables as well. It was so challenging, but I absolutely loved it. Now, the only thing is after washing, it grew quite a bit, being a merino, and it's quite low, dropping off the shoulder. Mum did help me do a chain around the armhole to tighten it up and pull it in a bit, but it's still just a little bit too big for me. And the belt is sitting a little bit lower than my actual waist, so it's not cinching in nicely. I haven't really worn it, but it's just, I think it's just going to be one of those art pieces rather than a practical piece. But I will try and find more opportunities to wear it. The next favorite is the Drift Jacket by Rose Knitwear. This jacket is so popular, and it is such a simple design using a very, very thick gauge yarn. So I knit it up very quickly. It was pretty tough on the hands doing cable design on such thick yarn, but it's absolutely worth it because it's just the most fashionable jacket, and it just looks so cool on. I just look like a cool girl on the streets of New York, basically. The yarn I used was a beautiful camel cashmere by woollyyarns.com, and I've actually worn it quite a bit this winter, surprisingly, because it is cold at night here, and we rarely turn on the heating because it's not that cold. Not cold enough to turn on the heating, but it's cold enough for me to put on a thick jacket, especially if we're going out. So I have had quite a few wears out of it, and I absolutely love that jumper. And then my last favorite, it's like choosing a favorite child. My last favorite is the Georgia cardigan by Nora Gorn, which I recently finished. It's from her Knit, Pleat, Refold, Repeat book. I've talked about it recently, and it is just, it's classic. The shape is beautiful. It's got my favorite setting sleeves. It's got a rolled shawl collar, just fits beautifully on the body. It's cropped, and then it's got the flare sleeves, which just gives it that, that design element that makes it so special. So feminine, but modern and classic shape at the same time. It's summer here, so I'm still waiting for an opportunity to wear it, but I think will wear it a lot. The yarn is quite heavy, and I think it's made the sleeves a bit longer. It's dragged it down a bit. So I'll try and wear it. If it annoys me too much with that flap there, I might just have to shorten it and bring the flap up a little bit, which will be okay. But I can't wait to wear it. Now, my least favorite knits for 2025, there are a couple, and it's unfortunate. So one of them is the Polar Jacket by Nash Knits, and that was a test knit. Soon as she put the picture out on her Instagram, I loved it. So when she put the call out for test knitters, I was probably the first person to sign up. It's just oversized crop jacket. So it's a boxy crop jacket using very thick yarn with boucle. And I chose a black boucle and navy Nepal, both by Drops, and they went together beautifully. The color is amazing. But after I finished, it was tough to knit up, but also after I finished, I realized the shape sucks for me. It just sucks for me. Because I have mentioned this a few times, I'm a pear shape. I have very narrow shoulders and very sloped shoulders. and it gradually increases towards my hips. So my body's kind of like this, very small on top and then widens down the bottom. And if you look at the collar of the polo jacket, it's also a triangle. So it just makes me look more pear-shaped. There is nothing on the shoulders. I probably should put some shoulder padding maybe, but still it's just so big and a triangle shape like that. It draws the eye line down right towards my hips and it just does not look good on me, which is such a shame because it looks great in the photos, looks great on a hanger, just does not look good on me. And I've been thinking about how I can alter the shape to make it look better. Shoulder pads, maybe one, but just the shape of the collar. I can reknit it, but being a boucle, it's going to be a pain in the bum to unpick and I can't see anything. So yes, I'm very sad about that. It's nothing wrong with the knit, it's just how it looks on me. The next not so favorite for 2025 is the Ingrid top by Petite Knit. Again, it's just a beautiful design and well thought out, clearly written. And I chose a blown alpaca by Woolly Yarns in a lavender color. Same thing, well, it's worse than a polo jacket. The color doesn't suit me and the shape doesn't suit me. I knitted while I was on a trip to Scotland and I barely made any mistakes, shockingly. And it was an enjoyable knit because it was, each section had a different cable design, so it keeps you engaged. And there were some short rows along the top of the sleeves here, so it doesn't pull, which is very clever. But after I finished, I realized lavender just does not do anything for me. I added a fusion neckline. It's a little bit better, but it still washes me out quite a bit. And being a drop shoulder and slightly oversized, the sleeves are quite long, it just drags me down and washes me out. So it's quite a shame. I'm still thinking about, do I go and dye it? But even if I do dye it, the shape is still not right. Well, I'd put shoulder pads like I would have to do with everything. I'm not sure, something to think about next year. And I really need to stop buying colors that doesn't suit me. Next, let's talk about some of my favorite yarns that I used. And there has been many beautiful yarns that I have used this year. And I would have to say 80% of them were from woollyyarn.com. If you haven't heard me talk about woollyyarn.com, that would be shocking. But it is an online shop based in Latvia, Riga, Latvia. And I buy from them probably 7-8 times a year, if not more. They sell everything in cones, so you can buy exactly the quantity that you want. And being on cones, there's barely any join. Like rarely do I find any broken yarn that's knotted together. So you don't have to, join your ends together, which is perfect. Most of their yarns, I think they're factory ends. So they are quite often designer brands who manufacture jumpers and whatever's left over goes to them. That is my guess, because they have a lot of beautiful cashmere by Laura Piana. And that's quite often what I buy from them, cashmere. They have so many beautiful cashmeres. Anyway, so what I have used this year, what my favorite is, firstly, woollyyarns.com. It's a black sequin merino. It's a thin merino with big black shiny sequins on it. And I have made 2 simple tops out of this yarn just to make the yarn shine. And they're my festive outfits. The singlet I wore to a recent Christmas party in 38-degree heat, and it didn't really feel very hot. And then the long sleeve one, I think I'm gonna wear for New Year's Eve when I'm in Hong Kong. So, the yarn's going to be shining. The next favorite is my most recent finished product, probably not the most recent one, but it's a recent one. It's called a Jelly Bean Vomit Sweater. The yarn is alpaca blend from woollyyarn.com. And I just love the speckles, the pink, the yellow, the green, the little nibs that are in there. It is just amazing. So I created a very simple design out of it just to make the yarn shine. And I have seen this in Puppy Yarn in Japan. They also sell it. And I have seen Max Mara create a jumper out of this yarn. So it's definitely a factory yarn. Very interesting to know who designs them and manufactures them and then distribute it to all these yarn shops and designers, I guess. But I love it. It's very light and airy, and I still have quite a bit left. So my friend has asked me to knit her a jumper as well, and I'm going to be making the Park Williams Ghost Whisperer jumper. It's very loose gauge, it's going to be quick to knit up, and it's cute. So I'll do that next year when I come back from my holidays. Next favorite yarn is the White Gum Wool. So it's an Australian brand called White Gum. They have their own sheep, their own mill, and their own yarns. My friend had recommended them to me a few years ago. I never had the opportunity, but I ordered it this year for my son's Darth Vader jumper because he's very sensitive to wool. So he wanted something not scratchy at all. And Australian Merino is very soft and non-scratchy. This was just the most beautiful, beautiful yarn. It didn't shed at all. It's a 12 ply boucle, and it was so soft and so quick to work with. So I'm definitely going to be using more of their yarn next time I need yarn, which is going to be a while because I have a lot of yarns here. But yes, it's absolutely beautiful. It holds up the shape really well. After I washed it, it didn't stretch at all. And it was just a dream to knit with. So White Gum Wool, go and check them out. They are in Tasmania, Australia. And then of course, all of the cashmeres by woollyyarn.com. If you look on my Ravelry, most of them will be cashmere by woollyyarn.com. It doesn't shed, doesn't peel, just beautiful to knit with. The only thing is probably most of them are not twisted because they are for knitting machines for manufacturing. So when it's not twisted, it's very splitty. It's easy to split when you're knitting with it. Plant fibers like this one, this is silk. It twists if you knit it in the round. So this one has been really twisty. It's been a bane in my existence. This used to be a t-shirt and twisted so bad I just couldn't wear it, especially around the shoulder area. So I ended up, it was a video, I don't know if my son's ever going to edit it, but I did make a video about it, about how I transformed this top. It used to be a t-shirt, I cut off the top, and then I made the lace into the Sienna top by Camille K. And now it's a lot better because lace doesn't twist so much. Anyway, I digress. Yarns that I don't like so much, not many of them because otherwise I won't be using them. But this year I used a very thick cotton from Spotlight, which is a budget craft store here in Australia. I made a cotton dress. I thought it's very thick yarn, I'll make a dress out of it. It's okay, it looks really nice on photos, but the yarn was just a pain to work with, being a thick cotton, and it kind of really holds its shape. So when I pull the skirt, it'll keep like a pointy shape until I smooth it down. It's just really weird. So not my favorite, but I don't knit with cotton a lot anyway. I also knitted a few garments with Drops yarn and one garment with the Fibre Coast Make Aran. So these are, what do you call it? Industrial yarns, manufactured yarns, mainstream. And they just shed microfibers so badly. They're just crap everywhere. I did not enjoy knitting with them, but they do have beautiful colors and they look great in photos. But if you don't mind the shedding of microfibers everywhere, it'll be okay because they're a good price, but that did annoy me a lot. And I also did not enjoy La Bien Amaze mohair or baby suri. They shed a lot and they irritate me so much. I bought an electric blue mohair. I couldn't knit with it because my eyes just flared up, and I ended up using a Centro to crank out a scarf. There's a video about that. But still, I'm not enjoying the scarf because the gauge is too loose and stretched out. But that yarn did irritate me. I'm currently knitting their suri base, thinking that usually suri doesn't irritate me. But this also sheds like crazy. There's fur everywhere and my nose is itchy and my eyes are slightly swollen. And I know mohair and suri sheds a lot, but this one sheds a lot and it's irritating to my skin. So that's not my favorite. It still feels beautiful on the hand, but it's not fun when it irritates my skin. So that is my favorite knitted products and my favorite yarn. I've also got some favorite books. This year I've already read 73 books and counting. There's a few of them that I've reread unknowingly. I forgot I had read them a few years ago. And most of them are on Audible as well, so I can still listen to a book while I'm knitting. And there are probably dozens and dozens of DNFs that's sitting in my Audible, gone back to the library. So if I did finish them, there would be a lot. But I don't want to spend time reading something that I'm not enjoying. But let me tell you a couple of my favorite books from this year. First one is The Wedding People by Alison Ebach, bestseller, so it's not a secret. But it's the best, beautiful story. The characters all have an amazing amount of depth. There's character development, and the story was super engaging, and I loved it. The second one is First Name, Second Name by my friend Steve Minon. It's about Chinese zombies. It is huge when I was growing up, and Western culture, I don't think Chinese zombies is well known, but they are terrifying. I used to be terrified of them as a kid, but this is a story about a Chinese Australian who was killed and became a zombie. And then he trekked through North Queensland to try and find his roots. It is so different, it's so interesting and very well written, so please go and check out First Name, Second Name by Steve Minon. My favorite Audible book is My Friends by Frederick Backman. I used to love Frederick Backman, my friend Ove, A Man Called Ove, and Anxious People. They were beautiful books, but lately all his books are very long and I just can't get into them. So the Audible version was perfect because it was very well read and the story was absolutely beautiful. It was heartwarming, heartbreaking and heartwarming. And I think it was a good way to consume this story. And I think it is a bestseller as well. Books that are not on the DNF list, but I finished and gave very low ratings on. The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Harris. I see what they're trying to do there. It's like a competition. Do they sell out to be more mainstream? But there were so many plot holes. There were so many things that didn't make sense. There were so many loose ends. There were things that happened but just weren't followed up on. And I just didn't enjoy the way it was written. The story's okay, but it's missing quite a few things in there. I also read 2 books by Laura Dave. So these books by Laura Dave, they're on the bestseller list. So I think they were maybe on the front page of Audible or Goodreads or something. So I got them and I hated them. I find a lot of books that are on the bestseller nowadays, they kind of feel like AI slop. Everything's just so vanilla. It's boring, the characters are uninteresting, or the plots are very similar. Everything is just so shallow. And the writing is So that's what I felt about these books. Sorry if you like it. Some of my other favorite things this year is discovering my color palette. I always knew the colors that work for me and looks good on me, but I keep buying things that doesn't work on me, thinking that this is a pretty color, maybe I can make it work. And it never does. So I just asked ChatGPT, put in a couple of photos and asked it to find me my color palette, and then I refined a little bit. And yeah, I'm a bright spring. So anything that's icy, anything that's pale, that's muddy, that's earthy, they just don't work for me. And I need to stop buying yarn in those colors. And so it makes decision making so much easier. So that's going to change my life. It's great because there's so many jumpers that I've made that's not in my color palette and I never wear them. I've also discovered dyeing. So I've taken quite a few of my garments that are the wrong color and I have dyed them up in colors that work. And I've bought heaps of them when they were on sale and I'm going to keep dyeing them. So these are some of my favorite and not so favorite things in 2025. Mum's over now, so we've got to prepare the Christmas feast for tomorrow. Of course, my favorite podcast is Fruity Knitting, as always, for the last 4 years. And Mum and I are going on the Fruity Knitting retreat next year in Austria. And the guest speaker is Nora Gorn. And it's going to be the best time. All right, I've got to sign off because Mum's just over there. And I'll see you guys in the New Year's.